Hi. So I just made my breastfeeding video and I'm going to talk a little bit about pumping and bottle feeding and all that. I did not follow my doctor's instructions as far as not pumping until he was a month old. They recommend not pumping until he's a month old so that I don't end up with too much milk and that I don't introduce a bottle too soon and give him nipple confusion. Personally, I think that nipple confusion is not as common as people make it out to be. And I felt like anytime my son, I gave my son bottles if I needed a break from a nighttime feeding, because like I said, my child is, kind of a difficult baby. And at first he was staying up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he was just awful to put down. I would tell my husband, you need to give a bottle and I need to just breathe. So, he pretty much got bottles from at least his second week of life onwards. And anytime I noticed that he was getting kind of coordinated with drinking from a bottle, because watching a breastfed baby drink from a bottle is very different than a baby that's only fed from a bottle. Whenever I saw that he was kind of getting his act together as far as bottle feeding, I didn't give him a bottle for a couple days and I just went right back to strictly breast so that I could. It was almost like I was teasing him, that it wasn't, my milk was never hard for him to get out anyway because of the overactive letdown. So I think that my milk actually came out faster than the slowest flow nipple that he was taking. So that might have been part of the reason why he didn't have any confusion. But I gave bottles from 2 weeks on and I pumped from the first week. So pumping at work blows. Pumping in period kind of blows, but you do what you have to do. So I'm a nurse. I'm sure I've told that before. And I work in the emergency department at a hospital that is not super duper mommy friendly, unfortunately. I mean, obviously they have to follow the law and provide a place for me to pump. And they have to give me the time, but it's kind of like one of those things where they give you the time, but then they make you feel like an ass for taking the time. So normally, I now only work 8-hour shifts. I'm technically a part-time employee now. So if I work from 7 to 3, I have to get up. I live only about 15 minutes from my job, but with rush hour traffic on 95 in the morning, it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to get to my job, no matter what time I leave. I normally leave my house at 6 and there's still traffic, so it sucks. I normally get up at 4:45. My child, ever since I started working, pretty much has been sleeping through that time period. So my husband will give him a bottle if he wakes up before 4, and then if he wakes up after 4, I'll breastfeed him. Most of the time he's been asleep. So I get up to pump. I double pump while I put my makeup on or eat Cheerios or something like that. And when I'm done with that, then I do, breast compressions to make sure I've gotten all the milk out. And that normally yields between 8 and 10 ounces after not feeding for 8 or 9 hours. So it's not bad though. That's 2 bottles for him. So he'll get one when he wakes up and then one in the afternoon, early afternoon. So that puts me at pumping at 5, ending at 5:15, 5:30. I go to work, I start my shift at 7, and then normally by 9 I don't really get engorged anymore, but I start to feel I let down a little bit. I start to feel the tingles and I have to go pump. So between 9 and 10 I pump, and that again yields normally another 8 ounces. And then I don't pump again until I go on lunch break. So I'll pump at 9:30 normally. I'll go on lunch between 12:30 and 1. today was earlier and I just skipped my pump session because I pumped at 10 and I went on lunch at 11:30, so I probably would have gotten 2 or 3 ounces out of it, which is still fine, but I just decided that I didn't want to. But anyway, I pump again at lunch and yield probably 4 ounces out of that feeding. You know, your milk supply is greater in the morning, your prolactin levels are higher. So I get 4 ounces. So at that point, I get 12 ounces. 12 ounces a day while I'm at work for an 8-hour shift. And then whoever's taking care of him knows not to feed him after 3 o'clock. Because even if he's not hungry, we just kind of do like a bonding nursing when I come home. Like, you know, we just kind of reconnect. Because I have, at that point, he's now sleeping through the night. I haven't seen him. I mean, other than me peering on him in his crib, I haven't seen him in, oh gosh, you know, almost 20 hours, which is a lot. A lot, and it's kind of heartbreaking. But and then we'll nurse. Like today, I got home from work around 5 because there was traffic coming home because it's Friday, and we nursed for about 30 minutes. He's a pretty efficient nurser. He could have been done in about 10 minutes, but because he missed me, he breastfed for longer. When I first went back to work, it was awful because he missed me, and he would get up. Once he figured out I was home, he would get up in the middle of the night and be up every 2 hours to nurse, which was like a nibble. You know, I'd bring him into bed with me and we'd lay down and we'd nurse together, and then he'd fall asleep in a couple minutes. So, although I love that, it was killing me having to get up early. So that's why we decided that when he woke up the first time, my husband would take care of it. Because he kind of gets tricked into thinking I'm not there, so I'm not available to snack all night, which is awful, and I wish I was. But it's just, I think it's a better fit for our entire family. Drop it. What do you have? Are you kidding me? My dog. Sorry. It's a better fit for our family. Everybody gets sleep. Everyone's happier the next day. So it sucks, but when I work a full 8-hour shift, I only breastfeed him pretty much twice. Once when I first get home from work, and then once again before he goes to bed, which is what happened today. He's just gotten so good about going to sleep on his own. It's like crazy how proud I am of him going to sleep by himself. We do still kind of nurse until he's groggy, not asleep, and then I put him in his crib, and he kind of makes fussy noises for about 15 minutes, and then he goes right to sleep. So that's been amazing, and he sleeps really, really well. You know, like at least a 6 or 7 hour stretch. The other night it was 11 hours. He slept 11 hours. Last night he fell asleep really early. He went to bed at 6:30 in the afternoon, and he got up at midnight and nursed, and then he got up at 5 and my husband fed him, and then he went back to sleep again until 10. So he slept a long time. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm talking about pumping. I have a Medela Pump and Style Advance. I think it works really well. It's not too loud, but it does talk to me. I think any pumping mother, that whoosh sound, depending upon my mood, it says different things. Sometimes it says don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. Sometimes it says keep going. It talks to me a lot of times. So I'm just ecstatic that everything's going so well with breastfeeding. I did have a slight dip in supply when I went back to work, because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't pumping so much in the couple weeks right before I went back to work, so I wasn't letting down as nicely for the pump as I had been. and I was always pumping after my baby had already nursed, so the milk was already drawn down. But I actually took some fenugreek for about a week, and you know, started like visualizing my child nursing, and I started letting down more, and the fenugreek gave me like an extra ounce, 2 ounces every pumping session, so it was really worth it. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it did work for me. But I haven't been taking it for a couple weeks because just really haven't needed it, and it's expensive because you need to take like at least 3 pills 3 times a day. You're supposed to take the pills until you smell like maple syrup, and for me that was 3 pills 3 times a day. And you know, it's not cheap, but it's worth it to provide your baby with food. As far as accommodation for breastfeeding, we have a family room in the emergency department, which is basically the room like if a person comes in cardiac arrest, or somebody comes in like fatally wound, or you know, near fatal wounding or major car accident or something like that. We put their family in the family room so they don't have to be with the people in the waiting room. It's a nice big room. So I just go in there. It's the only room that has a lock and has an outlet. So I go in there and I normally pump, but I have encountered people just sitting in there, because sometimes if we're really busy, we see patients behind triage, and it's in the same hallway, so people just sit in the doorway. And I mean, I don't really have a right to say like you need to move. I have a couple times said, do you mind if I take your chair and put it over here? And they said, oh no, no problem. But there was this one time I had my lunch and I had all my bags with me, and I walked into the room and there was a man sitting in there, and I said, oh my god, I'm sorry. I was just gonna, you know, eat my lunch, whatever. So I started to walk out, and he said, oh no, you can join me. You can eat your lunch in here. And I didn't know how to say like, oh, I gotta pump. But I said, that's okay. You know, I have to prepare lunch for my child at the same time. And instead of being like, oh my god, I'll go sit in the waiting room, like, no problem, because he wasn't doing anything and it wasn't busy. Like, I don't know who he belonged to. And we didn't have any critical patients, so it wasn't like I was kicking out a person whose mother was dying or anything like that. It was just this random dude. And instead of being like, oh, let me go sit in the waiting room, he just was like, oh, okay. And I had to go find another place to pump, which sucked, because they do have a lactation room up on the maternity ward at my hospital, but it's like literally it's like a closet, and there's nothing to look at. And not like there's a lot to look at in the family room, but at least I don't feel like I'm sitting in a closet. And they have a telephone in there, so. But sometimes that room is locked, the lactation room is locked, and the only people that have the keys are the lactation consultants. So one day I had to go and pump in the NICU. So there's like all these NICU babies, and I'm sitting in a corner eating my lunch and pumping. So it hasn't always been super convenient. And I can't even go to my car because they're doing construction on our parking garage. So we have to park off-site and take a shuttle bus to the hospital. So it's a big pain in the ass. But so far, so good. It's worked out. And I've been able to drop a pumping session during work if I have to and not really have my supply affected. Like today I only pumped once at work, and haven't had a problem. I nursed him twice tonight, and I'll probably pump before I go to bed just to have something for tomorrow, and then I'll pump tomorrow morning. But that's it. One thing, I think I'm gonna make a Facebook. I have a personal Facebook, but I think I'm gonna make a Facebook for YouTube. There's been so many things going on with you know, newly pregnant people, and I know that there's some people going through some tough things, and I just wanted to feel connected and feel like you know, I can help, or just kind of stay in the loop. So I'll put a link in the bottom if I do decide to do one, but time's running out. Bye.